So I got my first stethoscope when I was 5. It was in the Fisher-Price box that said doctor's bag in red script. It was blue, it had yellow tubing, and it went with me everywhere. According to my mother, I was constantly examining friends, relatives, whoever I could corner, and almost always diagnosing them with strep throat, which happened to be the bane of my childhood existence and really the only thing that I could name.
You feel very, very hot.
I do?
I think you might have strep throat.
Oh no!
And I do remember a few times where my patients would interrupt me, usually family members, and say, "So, Mandy, are you going to be a doctor when you grow up?" And I would look at them very seriously, say, "No, I'm going to be a ballerina." And fast forward about 25 years, I am not a ballerina, but I am a physician now. And I do have the white coat, even if we don't carry white bags anymore. And I still have a stethoscope, only it's a real one this time, even though it is still blue. And the last probably 10 years or so have been spent learning how to be a physician, what to do, how you manage patients, what to do with the stethoscope. And I hope by the time I finish my residency, I will have at last been able to hear a 1 out of 6 diastolic rumble murmur. But as a resident, I've certainly learned that in order to take care of patients well, there are a lot of things you need to do. You need to know how to handle a situation, and you need to know what to do once you've acquired that information. But what I'm just beginning to realize is just as important is knowing how to listen.
I want to talk about whether it's when I'm 94 or this disease. I want to talk about the end of my life and what I want. He goes, "I know what you want." And I said, "Well, what do I want?" And he said, "You don't want a feeding tube." I said, "You're right, I don't want a feeding tube." I said, "Do I want them to resuscitate me?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Nope." So I said, "We need to talk about this." And I actually told my mom and my sisters that I wanted to talk about it, and my brother, they don't want to talk about it.
If we have these conversations badly, or worse, if we don't have them at all, the impact on the individual can last for decades, and it can echo in the family for generations.
And the problems are that people die in institutions when they would prefer not to die in institutions, that we don't pay enough attention to pain and suffering, and that we tend to be too focused on our patients as a series of medical problems as opposed to continuing a focus on the patients as, human beings with a serious problem that we as doctors have to first address as a fellow human being with some expertise in dealing with their problems.
And you're not so much a patient as a person. That's it, you're a person. You're a human being, an individual.
And I think that is the answer that anyone who is ill must employ. Must say, "Hey, Doc, I am your patient."
Oh, have compassion. You have to listen to the patient. Listen to the patient and pay attention to what they say.
They do have to have an understanding of how the patient feels.
To be more compassionate, take time to listen.
If there's no communication between the patient and the doctor, then you're not getting nowhere. No understanding, you gotta have the understanding. Without that, there's nothing.
Palliative care teams often are called in to work with families who have been saying, "We want you to do everything for Mom." And sometimes we describe what the family has done as circling the wagons.